Hi, good evening and welcome to the Knatters Knits podcast. Today is Sunday the 24th of April 2016 and it's episode 30 of the Knatters Knits podcast. I can't believe that I've got to 30 already, wow. Thank you very much for checking me out or for coming back. Either way, I'm really pleased that you've come to join me today. It's quite a wet day today here, despite the fact that we've actually had a glorious week. And I just don't know where to start. It's been one of those busy weeks again. For those of you that have watched before, you'll remember that I started a new job about 2 weeks ago now, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm travelling around the north of England quite a bit. Already I'm nearly up to 1,000 miles in the first fortnight, so I'm doing okay, which has led me to an idea which I'll explain to you a bit later on. What I did think I would talk about to start off with was the usual finished objects, works in progress. But before I do any of that, let me just remind you that I am Knatters Knits here on the internet, in the usual places like Instagram, Facebook, Ravelry. So by all means drop me a line, say hi. I know some of you do take the opportunity to do that and I really do appreciate it, thank you. I also wanted to mention the fact that there is a Ravelry group called, of course, Knatters Knits, and in there's several threads going on. One is a competition thread where you post your works in progress for that particular month, and then at the end of the month I do a drawing for a prize. I've only just sent last month's prize out to the winner today, so I'm really sorry about that, Marnie. And then there are other chatter threads as well, and big news. Instead of finished objects, I've got something to announce. So without further ado, I can let you know that I have now got my cowl pattern back from the tech editors. So fairly soon, excuse me, tea repeating on me, fairly soon I will be launching a knit along with my new pattern, the Eiffel cowl it's called. I've just got to work through a few issues that the tech editors pointed out, and then it'll be ready to go. So that's all really exciting. That's my first professionally tech edited pattern, and I'm as you can tell, I'm really excited about it. So hopefully you'll like it. As soon as it goes up on sale, I'll let you know. I'll put a thread up in the Ravelry group, and all the usual things, you know. Right. So no FOs this week, as I said, but I have got 2 works in progress that I have worked on. I have an apology because as usual, things happen during the week, and unfortunately I was working away Tuesday, Wednesday, and I stayed in a hotel overnight and got food poisoning, so the lovely quiet evening I was expecting to have in the hotel working on my works in progress didn't turn quite how I'd planned. Yeah, it wasn't pleasant, but at least said soon as mended, yeah? We won't say any more about that one. But since then I've been back, I've carried on, I've finished what I was doing in the way of teaching and everything, and so my first work in progress I want to show you. I don't know if any of you will remember this yarn that was given to me by Ellie from the FO and Dye podcast. She couldn't remember what it was, so I don't know what it is, but some beautiful colours. There we go. And it keeps trying to focus on me, so focus on the yarn, thank you very much. And this is the 22.5 degrees shawl by Martina Bain. And the reason I chose this one is because of the nature of it. It's not as deep a triangle. And this is how far I've got so far. Of course it helps if I turn it around the other way so you can see the progress. That progress marker there is how much I've done in the last week. Not a huge amount, but I have done some. And I do love how the colour gradiates across. It's going to be interesting, I think, when it carries on. So there's a little bit of progress there, but not much. The other thing I did was the baby blanket I'm making for grandbaby, whose arrival is becoming more imminent. He is due on the 8th of June, or round about that time, sort of that week anyway. And this is the blanket I started using some acrylic yarn. I can't make up my mind which way around this is. So that's the first block, and then there was a garter stitch block, and now there's a lacy holey block. I'm thinking about going back to garter stitch again afterwards, and then I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the last block yet, but I'm sure something will grab my fancy. So that's it for works in progress. It has been a really poor week as far as knitting is concerned. So what I thought I'd do, because obviously this is only a few minutes into the podcast, and that's really not what you want to hear, is it, that the podcast lasts about 5 minutes. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about where I go when I go on my travels with work. Obviously not about the care homes, because one care home is very similar to the next one. But I thought I might give you a little bit of information about some of the towns and the cities that I travel to, and the places in between as well. And because of my special affinity to one of the places I went to this week, I thought I'd start with that one. I'm only going to do one a week, but this week I went to Salford, which is just outside Manchester, part of Greater Manchester, and I grew up to the west of there, between, let's think now, early 70s and late 70s. Sort of from mid-primary school all the way up to finishing secondary school, I was there in a town called Bury. So I know a little bit about Salford, because I did go there on a school trip as a child. But I thought it would be interesting to talk to you a little bit about Salford. Sorry if I keep looking down at my notes, but there's so much information here. So the first thing I wanted to find out was how long there's been a settlement there, and it turns out that there's been human activity there since the Stone Age, which is quite mind-blowing really, that there were people there from the Stone Age onwards. Another thing of note is that it was the first recorded railway accident where somebody was run over by Stephenson's rocket in Salford. Not such a bright thing to have. And of course the Industrial Revolution saw a widening and a much richer place that Salford had become because of the mills and the textile industry. So there is a link there with the knitting as well, which I think is rather exciting. Now, one of the favourite places that I know about there is the Lowry Centre. For those of you who don't know, L.S. Lowry was a painter, and he had a very unique style of painting. And just at the end of the podcast, I'm going to put one of my favourite pictures. There's a little picture there, and it was painted by L.S. Lowry. When I was a child, there was a song called Matchstick Men and Matchstick Cats and Dogs, and that was sung by, I can't remember who it was now, but there was a choir of children there as well, and that was all about L.S. Lowry's pictures. So I think it's quite fascinating really. Lowry is now more sort of known for the Lowry Centre, and also Salford Quays and the media city that has grown up in Salford. And it's also where the British Broadcasting Corporation has relocated some of its departments to. So Media City is quite a big place there now. As far as sport goes, it's quite known for rugby. Also, one of the famous snooker players from the 70s and 80s, John Virgo, also came from there. It's got a university at Salford. But some of the other people, I thought, if I list off a whole load of names now, some people will know some of these and some people won't. But just listen to this. Emmeline Pankhurst, the suffragette, came from Salford. Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills and Nash came from Salford. Some of these famous actors you might remember or might know. Albert Finney, Alan Halsall, Ben Kingsley, or Sir Ben Kingsley I should say now, Carolina Hearn, Colin Welland, Robert Powell, the director Mike Leigh, TV's Andy Crane. Well, only those who remember kids' TV in the 80s possibly will remember him. From the radio there's Alistair Cook, who did the Letters to America. Singer Elkie Brooks is from there, and famous playwright, the gentleman who thought up the idea of the soap opera Coronation Street, Tony Warren, came from Salford as well. And if anybody's into the clubbing scene, and I have to admit I used to be, but not for a long time, a gentleman called Tony Wilson, who was instrumental in Factory Records, and also the Hacienda nightclub, came from there too. So you can see there's quite a rich history of textiles, railways, music and acting coming out of Salford. So it was really, really nice to go back there on Monday. Right, the only other thing I've got to tell you really is I didn't realise, you know how Facebook has started putting these 4 years ago today, this happened and you tweeted this and you posted that. Well, it came up this weekend with a post that I'd actually announced that I was just about to buy my first spinning wheel 4 years ago, and I can't believe that it was just 4 years ago. Thinking about how much I've done, you can see some of it behind me, but also I know I've got boxes and boxes and boxes of handspun yarn. It's just quite phenomenal, really. So that's all there too. 4 years seems really, really fast, but it also seems really, really slow. Excuse me. I can't believe it's 4 years, and sometimes I can't believe it's only been 4 years. So that's about all I've got to tell you today. It is a really, really short episode, and I apologise for that. But rather than waffle on, I thought I'd just get a podcast out there, see what my camera's like, and go for it. So thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you're okay. Look out for next week's podcast, because I will be announcing, hopefully, if I manage to get those edits done, I'll be announcing about the knit along and the launch of my pattern, the Eiffel Cowl. And at that point I'd like to give a little quick plug to the tech editor. That's James Bartley. Thanks, James. And just before I go, I did promise a shout out to Kim, Neve and their sister whose name is gone. Oh, Kimberly, Neve and Kira. That's it. Kimberly, Neve and Kira. So, hi girls, nice to see you. Thanks for watching. And I hope you're okay. I bet you've eaten all those lollies now, haven't you? If there's anything that you think we should be doing on the podcast, anything you'd like to see, I'm going to try and get some more knitting done this week. And I'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.